So let's talk about soft life. Yeah, soft life. And particularly because that language doesn't belong to the 70s or 80s. It belongs to them now, and it's everywhere. Luxury cars, designer clothes, soft life holidays, and all. Now, for many young people, especially today, the pressure to blow is there. It's personal, it's peer-driven, it's social media fueled, and all of that. For parents, the pressure is real too. They need to keep up appearances, fund expensive lifestyles and all. And the children are seeing this. What's this all got to do with anything? This morning, we have with us Amin Yusuf Ali, who is a family therapist and a coach. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me again.
Okay, so here we go again about this particular matter. And the whole idea is to lead people to what you call a healthy soft life. From your experience, what's really the issue?
There's no issue with having a soft life. If like, of course, wouldn't you want to have a soft life? Like, have everything, luxury cars, luxury wristwatches, travel the world at a whim's notice.
Okay.
Who wouldn't? The idea is understanding how and where it's when it matters, where it matters the most. So of course, I think for our children, it's recognizing the fact that, and we say it a lot, really, unconsciously as parents. Oh, the stuff, the pain that I went through, I don't want my children to go through it. If I say it in your bite, it's yeah, to jembe, but the mommy, you know, that kind of thing. So what I've gone through, or the pain I've seen my own parents go through, or the generational lack that I've experienced, I want it to end with us. So our children hear it, they see it, they feel it, and they say, no, you know what? Let's do the soft life thing. Let's have the soft life experience.
So isn't that a failure on our own part as well, of not raising them right, by not modeling the real life to them?
Well, failure is subjective. It could be as a result of us even not healing from the very thing that we are running away from, or the thing that we want to stop gap in the first instance. So I think it's the idea of really understanding why it matters so much that, oh, the pain, the suffering, the poverty, the lack is such a very huge thing that these children are now hell-bent on stopping anyhow, anyways, even if it has to do with, you know, losing their values, losing their integrity and their dignity in the process. So when it comes to parents, what I like to say to them is this: what exactly are you running away from? Because it is likely that you become that thing that you're running away from. And when it comes to luxury, what is the preserving legacy behind it? You know, it's okay for the students to want more, to have things around them, to use gadgets, for instance. So a parent who couldn't afford a car at age 30 would not give a 16-year-old a car, expecting that the child would know how to drive. But what's the value behind it? What's the legacy behind it? Does the child understand the principle of having such a luxury in the first instance?
Which raises the question of whether or not those soft infrastructure, those values, those principles are being built in them in the first place.
In the first place. And that is often the gap. So when parents say to me, for instance, and they want, oh, you know, I don't want them exposed to things that they are not ready for. And I ask exactly, what have you prepared them for? So a parent who wants to bring about resilience in their children, for instance, would say, oh, so I'll send the child to the boarding house, thinking that because they'll go to boarding house, they'll have less amenities, they'll understand the struggle, and that will bring about them. But then you're also inculcating the fear of lack in them in that process, because the children will not learn what you are afraid of. They would only learn what they are afraid of. And if you teach them from a space of fear, as opposed to a space of what exactly is the future that I want you to build, what are the things, the tools and the strategies that we can begin to learn from it, or we can begin to provide for you in that situation, and how can you begin to, how can I help you achieve that? Then we will now begin to have the discussion. But value-driven, peer-driven, value-driven versus peer-driven soft life is like this wide apart, so distant. Because we see it every day. They see it on social media. Oh, a 16-year-old who bought a house for the father, or bought a Bugatti for the mother, or did the dream life and everything. And they're constantly like, what are you doing with your own life? It's even almost a sin to be found driven. Because it's almost like, what's the next big thing for you?
You know, this conversation is interesting, because what's just come to my mind now is those old legacies of self-recognition, self-awareness, those old legacies of love for community, of honesty, of trust, of truth, of process.
Yeah.
They are as old as time, and they are still as valid as now. Because if you abandon someone, you leave the person all the luxury and everything, and the person will still feel lonely.
At the end of the day, yeah.
And at the end of the day, okay, I have everything, but then I don't have people, or I don't have joy, or I don't have peace. Exactly how did we create that gap, and how can we get this back into the minds in a generation where the social media is the one that is a co-parent, so to speak?
That's a very fantastic way to put it, social media being the co-parent. And I think where we missed it as adults is when we began the hustle culture. Everybody in the home is hustling. We have our side hustle has a side hustle, you know, apart from your main 9 to 5. And it just seems endless. And the children look at this and say, you know what, this is not life. Because then what we've also created is a need, a gap, and a void that is so huge, there is no sense of connection, no sense of belonging. And those are the things that our own parents were able to provide. In spite of the fact that they also hustled in their own ways, they had a village, you know, that wasn't exclusive and said, oh, you're not in my, no. If you were living in a place, the likelihood of you knowing about 10 people living to your right and to your left was high, because you come out in the evening, you see them, you play together, you most likely go to the same schools, you most likely have the same experiences, and you grew up in that community. I had a sense of belonging. But what we have now are children who are asked to stay put or be they are relegated to go to school, go to swim meets or karate, or do different extracurricular, come back home, and then they are stuck behind the screens, and there is no connection with else. The connection that they have is the social media, and what they are saying in the social media is people who are singing and making it, people who are acting and making it, people who just by sheer luck did something, and then before you know it, they're billionaires or millionaires, and that just drives them. And like, okay, you know what, for me, because the thing that is actually driving the soft life engagement is I need somebody to notice me. I need somebody to see me. I need somebody to say, oh, you're there, well done. And this is missing at home. And the reason it's missing at home is because, of course, parents are also saying, I'm doing this work because of you. I'm setting up so that you do not have to suffer. And it just goes on. The vicious cycle just keeps going on. It's like a rat race that never ends. And unfortunately, we are missing the part where we can say to our younger ones and say to them, hold on, process matters. Yes, you will get, even if I have this conglomerate, you will get to that space where you need to learn how A became B and joined to C, and then we had E and F. We're just saying to them, you know what, go to school, study hard, and everything, and all the doors would open. But it doesn't for them. And they're looking for ways, the shortcuts, so that they can get to the end faster. So when we get to the end, what then happens? That loneliness that you mentioned shows up. and there's no way around it. The very thing that we are running away from is the very thing that we are co-creating in the society.
Madam, let's talk solutions. And
Yeah.
here's what I mean. The parent who has the means to provide for the kid has provided for the kid. Now the parent needs to remain relevant. As a politician, as an engineer, as a doctor on call, as a nurse on call, because the lines of 9 to 5 are blurred these days, right?
Yeah.
As you said, after the main hustle,
there's a side hustle.
you resume the side hustle,
Yeah.
which has a side hustle and all of those things. So it's not just what is said to the child, it's also what is modeled to the child, it's what the child also sees.
Yeah.
And that's all aside from being a parent, which is the main side hustle.
But should it be a side hustle? Should parenting be a side hustle or the real hustle? Right? Because I think what we've said to unconsciously to the children is that you are a part of the pieces that make me. You are not a part on yourself. So you look at it, you have the house, you have the wife, you have the spouse, you have the children, you have the cars, and it's just like they're just jigsaws fitting together to make a picture that benefits you.
But isn't that what the society says? How many children do you have? Oh, I have X number. Oh, she doesn't have children. And then you are
cut down.
Yes.
And that is the thing. Children have not become like accessories to what make our lives look nice. Really. And we're even beginning to say, okay, well, maybe they don't even need to exist anyway. But that's the rhythm. That's the song that they keep hearing. So if I need to matter, just like you as a parent matters, then I need to show the world that I'm doing something fantastic or fantabulous, and the world would praise me, no matter the cost. And the cost is this: the dignity of the human, the integrity of the society. And this is what we are reeling from right now. Now, in terms of solutions, I think what we need to begin to ask ourselves, even before you get married, why? What kind of home do you want to build? What is the legacy that you are coming from that you're not going to be pushing forward? Because that would inform how you manage your time, how you prioritize your family, and how you engage with the society. We are continuously raising children whose sense of belonging is devoted to the number of likes they have on Instagram and the number of shows or stories that they can post in a day. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, when the lights are off, they can barely stand themselves. And that is where I would say our failures as adults, as the older generation, as the parents who are supposed to be raising these children are showing up. We need to begin to put down our phones when it is time for dinner, and to ask the question, how are you feeling? What happened in school today that made you excited? What do you need? How can I be a part of your life? And get them to ask you the same thing. Because we also don't share our lives. We share the successes, but we don't share the failures. We don't talk about it when, we had a terrible day and we missed a deadline and what that meant to our society. We just come home and then we begin to take it out on them. And before you know it, they are making meanings out of that experience and saying, well, I don't want to work for anybody when I grow up. If this is the way I'm going to be living about 40 years of my life, I'd rather not work for anybody. So you have youngsters who are saying, I just want to start my own thing. You ask anybody today, I just want to start my own thing. Or my mental health is at stake when I'm working with people. I don't like the way you talk to me, because they are not used to those discussions at home. They are not used to even seeing adults go through the tough times. The process that we want them to take, we just kind of like wait till they are 20 and then push them out into the world and expect them to get used to it. But it doesn't work that way.
So the core word here is process.
Yeah. It is process. It takes process for you to even, I mean, everything in life is process. The very fact that you have that child is process. It didn't just happen. God could have made it easy for us to just get pregnant in one day and give birth in one day. Like some animals would. But, you know, the 9 months is a process for you to get familiar with the idea and the thought that you're bringing in a new soul into this world. What is your plan? What is your strategy for the thriving of the soul? What are the things that you need to put in place so that it doesn't come to you all of a sudden? There is a process to living a successful life that has nothing to do with the number of cars you have in your car park or the number of wristwatches that you have on your dresser. There is a process to engage in the community that has nothing to do with the number of likes you have on IG or on Facebook. There is a process to being recognized for the value you bring into the world as opposed to the noise that you make online.
Because even sometimes, after attaining the fame, if you didn't go through the process, the managing it is a tough one. I'm not sure many people factor that in when they're looking for fame and fortune.
So the privacy that they've always hated becomes the very thing that they now crave when fame becomes the result, isn't it? And that comes with knowing that support systems are important. Because fame has a way of excluding you or delineating you from the people who really matter. It is so easy for you to be the prime out there, where, you know, the snapshots, the pictures, the videos and everything. But when you don't have people who you can sit down and be your utterly authentic, raw self with, you feel alone. And that's where, you know, a lot of vices begin to grow. So rather than sit with yourself, you not look for any fast way that you can get the high. It is elusive to think that you can do this all on your own. But it is important for us at the home front to begin to bridge, to close the gap, the void as much as we can by really engaging, you know, I see you. I know this is tough. I know that the WAEC, we're expecting 5 A's or 7 A's, and then you got 5. Okay, yeah, this is a tough time. I know you tried your best. What's the next step? Talk. Speak with each other. Get angry and then repair. Don't just get angry and walk away. Get angry and then repair. Allow yourselves to cry and to lean into each other. And more importantly, I think we need to cultivate the environment where children can really laugh and enjoy and see their parents enjoy themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's just excuse me. Let's just say that this is the beginning of conversations. Again,
Absolutely.
we're always having beginnings.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can take it up from where we stop here now. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Amina Yunus Ali, my partner. Amina Yunus Ali, where is that Yusuf coming from? He's a coach and family therapist. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me once again. Yeah.
All right. Well, someone has modeled a good life for himself, and he's at the peak, one might say, or not. Well, you'll find out after this conversation for our home stretch.